everybody. This is Debbie Lynn Toomey from Tufts Medical Center, and you're watching Aging Strong under Health Links. And today's program is on warm weather safety. And I have with me today my colleague from Brigham and Women's Mass General Hospital, and her name is Maria Tamang. And together we'll be offering you this program, which is called the Warm Weather Safety. Maria, welcome.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you. Happy to be here. My name is Maria Tamang, as Debbie said. Well, I'm going to take my glasses off.
Yeah, we put our sunglasses on just to be in the to have fun and to really kind of show off our nice shades for the summer.
So as Debbie mentioned, I am an injury prevention coordinator from the Brigham and Women's Hospital here in Boston. And we have collaborated on a presentation for warm weather safety, and that we'll be offering virtually together to whoever would like to hear us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because you know what? It's summer.
We do cover a lot of different aspects of the heat and the sun and safety. So come along with us for the ride.
Mm-hmm. And, we know that these are all things that's common sense, but these are just reminders because the world we're living in is getting to be a little bit busy and there's a lot of things going on in the world. So our intention is really to remind you all to do certain things to make sure that you and those around you are safe. So we have our slide.
Shall we get going?
Let's get going.
Okay, warm weather safety. Moving on to our next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Heat, summer, heat. We've been waiting for this. It has been a really, a really cold spring, and the summer has just been, didn't feel like it was coming at all to us today. So we wanted to bring you some warmth and some heat and a sunny smile. Mm-hmm. Before we do that, I need to talk about the disclaimer. Both Debbie and I are injury prevention professionals. Debbie's a registered nurse. However, we cannot give formal medical advice. We can only provide education and information. So if you are in need of any medical advice, please contact your primary care physician before making any changes. Mm-hmm. And there's the heat. So why is it important to talk about heat and aging? A lot of it comes from the fact that as we age, our response to heat becomes a little different as when we were younger. So our central nervous system starts to deteriorate. Our body's store of water becomes smaller. So that means we dehydrate faster because we're not storing the water as much. And our sense of thirst decreases. So when that happens, that means you're not feeling thirsty, even though your body is needing water, but you're not sensing it. So it's important to drink, just even if you're not thirsty yet. And also, as we get older, we start taking, we have conditions, and when we take medications that make us go to the bathroom a little more often, and that also is a risk of dehydration.
Right. Yeah. Not all medications will increase urination, but there are some, like what we call diuretics.
Or water pills.
Yep, or water pills.
Yeah.
So vitamin D, everybody knows about vitamin D and how deficient we are, especially in our parts of the country because of the seasons that we have. And also there's sometimes we are not getting out as much. And also, even though it's healthy for us to wear sunscreen, it blocks the rays, the healthy rays of the sun. So vitamin D is very important. It helps absorb calcium to the bone, and it helps with bone growth and remodeling. It helps with our nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, and also the immune system. And some sources of vitamin D, as I mentioned already, is the sun, and also diet and supplements. As far as supplements goes, just check with your doctor to see if you do have vitamin D deficiency and if they could recommend and prescribe an amount, a dosing of vitamin D for you to take. And just note that too much sun exposure can put us at risk for skin aging and skin cancer. So it's almost like a catch-22. When you go out there, you want to wear the sunscreen. At the same time, we do need the sun rays. So just keeping in mind how much you're taking and what your lifestyle is very important.
Yeah. So just to add to that, it's best to just get your sun early in the morning when the sun's rays are not too harsh, and maybe later on in the afternoon. And of course, all it means is spend like 10, 15 minutes out in the sun, not 2 hours out in that sun.
Yeah. And it's good for us because of the fresh air. It's always good for us to have fresh air. All right.
Okay.
Sun protection. All right. We have sunscreen. Again, I just talked about sunscreen, how it's highly recommended. So that way we don't get a sunburn. And also it helps prevent cancer, skin cancer. So very important to wear sunscreen when you're out in the sun, especially for a long, long time. And then comes the sunglasses. You saw Maria and I wearing our fun summer sunglasses. The sunglasses that's recommended are the ones that has the UV ray protection. So that way you're protecting the tissues, the cells of your eyes. And then, of course, there's the hat and umbrella. If you could wear a hat when you're outside, you're protecting not only your eyes, but also your face. And it helps cool you off. And some people like to use umbrellas, not just for rain, but also as a bigger protection to help their whole body as they're walking about, to cool them off and also protects them from the sun. And hydrate with water. If you can, when you're going outside, have a bottle of water with you. And even if you can drink some water before you go out, very important. Always hydrate, because as Maria mentioned earlier, the older we get, our thirst drive goes down. So our body could be dehydrated, but because the thirst drive goes down, we don't think we're thirsty, but we actually are.
Yeah, they've actually said that by the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Very good point.
We should keep that in mind.
Yeah. And as Maria mentioned, being outside strategically at different parts of the day is important. So in particular, if it's going to be a very sunny day, bear in mind when you're going to be doing your errands. Okay. So between the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., those are kind of the peak time when the sun is really the hottest. So if you can, seek shade between those times or be indoors. And, she mentioned earlier, try to, be outside earlier in the morning if you can, or later on in the afternoon. Those are good times for you. So that way it's a little bit cooler in the day. And sunscreen, everybody needs sunscreen, even when it's cloudy. Very, very important, because the cloudy skies can be very misleading because, you're not seeing the sun, so I'll be fine to go out. But no, actually, people get sunburned still, even if it's very cloudy out there, especially people with fair skin. So wear sunscreen, always wear it outside. And especially when you're out on the beach. It's summertime, people are going to be going to the beach, maybe down the Cape or your favorite areas of bodies of water where you go. On the sand and the water, there's a reflection of the sun rays. So be extra careful. And if you can, use broad spectrum protection against the UVA and the UVB rays. And what's recommended are the SPF 30 or higher. And dehydration, I think we've been alluding to that since the beginning. The reduction in total body water. That's what dehydration is. So some symptoms of dehydration could be lightheadedness, dizziness, headaches, less frequent urination, confusion, fatigue, weakness, darker colored urine. So the idea is if you're drinking water, your urine should be close to that color of the water, so if your urine is starting to become dark, that should indicate to you that you need to be drinking more water. or if you're not even going to urinate that often, that's another indication that, you know what, you're kind of in the dehydrated range. So you should drink some water.
And this is actually just a more formal way of looking at the color of your pee. And Deb, I don't know about you, but I do look at the color of my pee whenever I go. So just putting it out there.
Yes.
But and it actually really tells me when I'm dehydrated or not. Especially in the morning, like first thing in the morning, it's always really a good idea to look.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at this scale, if there's no color, it's transparent, it's like white. You're drinking a lot of water, might be a little too much, may want to cut back a little.
Yeah.
If you're drinking, if it's pale straw, it's like light yellow, you're good. You're hydrated. You're good to go. Transparent yellow, now it's becoming a little more yellow. You're still good. It's still normal. But once it starts hitting that darker yellow, it's still normal, but you might want to drink some water soon. It means, you're starting to get a little dehydrated. And then once it gets to the amber or honey, now it's really dark. It's almost like on the orangey side. You're not getting any water. You're dehydrated. Your body needs water. You might want to drink some water like right now. And then if it's syrupy color or a brownish, it could mean just, you need to really drink water. It would mean you're severely dehydrated. But we suggest that you observe it. And if it persists, so definitely drink some water and then keep looking whenever you go to the bathroom. Observe it, and if that color stays the same, even though you've been drinking, you might want to just get in touch with the doctor, or just have a quick conversation.
Yeah.
And then if it's pink to reddish, now that we understand that our pee can also be affected by the food that we eat. So if you just had like beets or blueberries or rhubarb, that could be the reason why it's pinkish or reddish.
Yeah.
Again, observe it. Observe it, because if it is just caused by the food you're eating, it will disappear eventually. However, if it stays the same color or that redness doesn't go away, you might want to, again, check with your doctor, just a quick conversation, and stay on the safe side.
Yeah. Can I just add a couple of things? I know we're talking about colors here. So, as far as the urine colors, you want to be in the pale straw color, transparent. When you start getting into the darker yellow, sometimes depending on your medications can turn your urine a certain color. Okay. So if people are taking B vitamins, sometimes your urine could be, yellow. As far as the amber and the syrupy brown ale color and the pink, those I would have to encourage you to let your doctor know, your primary care provider know, because these are indications that there's something, a little off, that maybe, are you not drinking enough? Or, what are you drinking that is not allowing you to hydrate yourself enough? When you go down to the pink range, that could be different. It could be food related, but it also could mean that there's something else going on in your body. So you definitely need to call the doctor and let them know about that. And maybe they might want you to give them a urine sample. So that's the color, but also the clarity. If your urine is cloudy and it seems like you're having a hard time urinating or it hurts, those are just some indications that maybe you might have a urinary tract infection, and that can't be diagnosed until you give a urine sample. So those are indications for you to let your primary care provider know that there's something a little bit off with your urine.
That's a really good point, Deb, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of urinary tract infections do manifest itself with, urine that is not transparent or a little bit of cloudiness to it. Yeah. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, or even actually if there's an odor, so those are just like the key indicators, odor, cloudy, maybe a little bit of blood. dark color. So definitely let your doctors know, your primary care providers.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the causes of dehydration. A lot of times it's when the temperatures are really high and the humidity is high because you're sweating a lot more. So when you're sweating more, you're losing fluids. So excessive sweating. So if you're staying outside longer in a hot day, you're sweating a lot more. Fever. Your body's really hot. Again, increased urination or taking diuretics, which are the water pills. Diarrhea and vomiting both cause fluid loss as well. So those can actually lead to dehydration as well. Mm-hmm. And how do we prevent dehydration? It's actually really easy to prevent dehydration. The big one is just drink plenty of water throughout the day, especially when it's hot outside, because you're sweating a lot more. But we are actually recommending that you just drink water, period, like, every day, not just in the summer. So drink lots of water. And if you're not a big water fan because it's just too bland and blah, you can eat your water as well. So a lot of fruits and vegetables are actually high in water. For example, tomatoes are 95% water. Watermelon is 98% water. Strawberries, oranges, other vegetables like cucumbers, also things that are not like foods that are not solid, like yogurt, jello, pudding. Those have a lot of water in it. So those are also good. Those will also contribute to that. Again, really important to check your medications for diuretics or water pills and call your doctor if you have diarrhea, vomiting, or you're feeling dizzy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when you're outdoors, just be mindful of what you're doing when you're outside, especially when it's really, really hot. So if you can exercise indoors, that's a good thing. That's a good idea. If you can find a mall or someplace where you can walk indoors where there's cooler. And you can also walk either early in the morning or later in the afternoon, again, avoiding that crunch, that hot sun between 11 and 3. And then avoid outdoor activities on really, really hot days. Maybe a good time to take it a little easier. Just, maybe not run or do some heavy activity, physical activity on really hot days and save it for a little more cooler days.
All right. It's getting hot and not everybody has central air. And not everybody has an air conditioner in each room. So it's very important during hot weather to seek out different places that does have air conditioning. They could be public libraries, senior centers, community centers, local shopping malls. And if you're not sure what locations you can go to, you can dial 211 to give you more resources that you could check out locally. So that way you're keeping cool and you don't have to spend the money on trying to cool yourself off with a fan, because the fan may not be sufficient, especially as it gets really, really hot here during the summer. So very important to get yourself in a place that has air conditioner. So some heat-related illnesses, there's heat rash, sunburn, heat cramps, heat syncope, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Some risk factors, I think we've been driving this home, dehydration is a risk factor. So if you're not drinking enough, you're more likely to suffer from those heat-related illnesses. And also if you've been going outside, and we did encourage you to go outside, but also bearing in mind how long you're outside and also the time of day and making sure you have something to hydrate you when you're outside. It's very important. And also age. The very, very young and the very, very old are at high risk for the heat-related illnesses that we just talked about. All right, so heat rash. I'm sure many people have experienced one form of heat rash in their life. But if not, it is a skin irritation caused by excessive sweating. It's known as a prickly heat rash. And they're red and they're kind of stingy, and they're kind of grouped together. And they're grouped together like clusters of small blisters on the skin, where the sweat gets kind of trapped because there's no airflow. So because there's no airflow and it still kind of happens in those sweaty areas, especially in the folds of our body, and the skin is kind of rubbing up against it, we kind of sometimes develop the skin rash, the heat rash.
Sunburn. We have, all of us have, I believe, experienced sunburn at one form or another in our lives. So basically, it's from exposure, like sun exposure, too long, and it's painful. It's red, and the skin is warm. So the degree of, there's obviously like varying degrees of sunburn, from just really mild and minor, so you're just seeing warm red skin, to it becoming a little bit more serious, so you now have blisters on the skin. One way to treat this is applying cool cloths to areas that are affected, and apply lotion like aloe, especially those with aloe vera in it. It's very helpful. Now, if there's blister in the skin, might be a good idea to, really watch it, and maybe even talk to your doctor, because if the blisters pop, that could get infected.
Yeah. And if you want to try to avoid popping the blister, because the blister itself, the skin over the blister, is actually a protection. So you want to avoid playing or touching the blisters so they don't pop. But if they do pop, then you're more at high risk for infection because you have that open skin area. So you might want to call your doctor and ask them, what you could do depending on the severity of your sunburn.
Heat cramps. Now, this is mostly with those who do a lot of physical activity outside, running and all that. They're painful muscle cramps, and due to excess sweating that leads to the loss of salt and fluids. So this is when drinks like Gatorade or Pedialyte come into play, because those add the salts and the fluids or electrolytes into your system. So one of the best things to do is just stop the physical activity. If you're starting to feel crampy, usually in the legs, if you're starting to feel the cramps, stop the physical activity and move to a cooler environment to allow your body to rest and cool off. And obviously, again, drink lots of fluids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Heat syncope is fainting. That's really like what it is. It's a fainting episode that happens after a prolonged standing or suddenly standing up. Your fainting, dizziness, and lightheadedness are the symptoms of this. So again, heat syncope is because it's really, really hot, but syncope can happen at any time. Just, make sure that you're not standing up suddenly, or and when you start feeling faint or dizziness or lightheadedness, have a seat and relax and rest. Heat exhaustion. Now, this is a little bit more severe than heat syncope. The body is now overheated and can't cool itself, even though you're sweating a lot. So you're, feeling like, but I'm sweating so much, but the body itself isn't cooling off. So then you feel cool, moist skin with goosebumps in the heat. There's dizziness, fatigue, feeling faint, rapid pulse. So when something like this happens, immediately stop whatever it is you're doing, get into the shade, cool off. You can put cooling cloths into your, on your neck, your groin area, like where your thighs and your body meet, because that's where a lot of the veins, major veins are. So you're cooling off your blood. So it's a good idea to definitely, again, get out of the heat, get some rest, get some shade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So heat stroke. The body can no longer control its temperature. This is very severe here. Because our body is made to regulate itself, but in this condition, heat stroke, it's gone beyond trying to control the temperature. It did its best, but then it's just kind of a lot of stress from the heat. So it's a rapid rise in the body temperature, 103 or higher. And you basically are red and your skin is dry. That's hot to touch. And you can experience some confusion and in some cases, seizures and also loss of consciousness. So you want to be able to avoid getting to this point. And again, we've been talking about hydration and also knowing when to be out in the sun and for how long. So you have to just kind of think about what your day is going to be like, so that way you can plan accordingly. So you avoid all these these heat-related illnesses. And of course, for any type of emergency, call 911. And it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so always call 911 if it is a medical emergency. And in this case, it is.
So just going back again, all these heat illnesses can be prevented very simply. Again, just drinking plenty of water throughout the day, eating your water, seeking shade, check your medications. Mm-hmm. And before you go out for the day, get that sunscreen on. So SPF 30 or higher. Wear loose fitting, lightweight, and light colored clothing. As you look at this lovely lady here, a lot of it is because the lightweight, light color, and loose fitting it's not trapping the heat in. Dark colored clothing will absorb heat, so it'll make you feel hotter. Again, avoid prolonged sun exposure, find the shady spots, and rest frequently. Rest a lot. Find that bench under the tree in the shade if you're outside on a hot day. And again, avoid being outside during the hottest part of the day, which is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just some food and safety tips. And this is true for basically year round, not just in the summer. But in the summer, that's when we go out. That's when we go to picnics and have barbecues. So always a good idea to wash your hands before and after eating. Use a food thermometer just to check and make sure that your food is cooked properly. Especially true with chicken and pork and beef. So it's a safety measure. Avoid placing cooked food on plates that are used to hold raw foods, because raw foods will have the juices, and putting a cooked food on it will get contaminated by those raw juices. Don't let your perishables sit at room temperature for more than 2 hours. So that's things like mayonnaise, cheeses, things that will deteriorate in the heat. You would want to put that back in the refrigerator or in a cooler filled with ice or ice packs before, as soon as you're done using it, and let it sit in a cool place. Okay, we're just going to move on to some water safety tips. As Debbie mentioned earlier, a lot of us will now, try and take some trips to the cave, to the ocean, to the lake, to a pond, to a pool, anywhere where we can cool off, especially on a hot day. Hey, that's the best thing to do to cool off is, go into some kind of water. So some outside of the water, before you even go into the water, some tips. Train kids to tell an adult before going into the water. So this is if you're going into a pool, the ocean. As an adult, it's a good idea to know that the kids are where the kids are. So you're not panicking when you turn around and little Johnny's not. So make sure that they know to tell you before they go into the water. Watch out for those wet floors, especially on the pool decks. Those are very, very slippery. Tiles and water don't mix. Eyes on the kids at all times, even though there's a lifeguard. Remember, the lifeguard watches, at a maximum 25 people in that body of water. So, and he's always scanning the water. So he's moving his gaze, her or his gaze, from one side to the other side. So they're not staring at your kids at all times. You, on the other hand, you can stare at your child the whole time because you're only watching for your child. So you can, give your child more attention and, be more safe instead of just relying on the lifeguard. Reach or throw, don't go. Basically, what that means is if you see someone needing help in the water and you're outside of the water, you can reach for them. You can hold out a stick that they can hang on to and you can use to pull them in. Or if they're far away, you could throw them something that floats, a noodle, a life jacket, a ring buoy, like the one in the picture. But the point is you don't go in the water because of a person who's drowning or is scared of drowning is unpredictable, and they could actually drag you down, and then we'd have to rescue two people. Yeah. So reach or throw, don't go.
Yeah, only go in.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Only go in if you are a trained person who knows how to save drowning victims. But this, in general, are for people who are, older adults who are not really good at swimming. And so the recommendation is to reach for them, of course, or throw something that can help them stay afloat, because the numbers of adults drowning is going up. So you want to be able to know what you can do outside and in the water. And if you can, throw something to help that person who is drowning, and hopefully somebody can get that person out who is well trained in swimming and saving somebody drowning.
Right. So the best idea is to actually run for help or to yell for help. Just don't go in the water. Okay, so once you're in the water, non-swimmers should always really wear a Coast Guard approved life jacket that's properly fitted and properly worn. Make sure that you buckle all those buckles. There's usually a lot of them, and you're like, why do I need all of this? Because it's important to keep that life jacket holding on to that body. And if the life jacket's too big, it could actually slip out of the child. So make sure it's properly fitted. Dive only into known waters. So if you don't know the water, you've never been there before, it's really a good idea to not dive in, especially head first, because you don't know how shallow it is or how deep it is. Also, you don't know what things are in the water. So there could be rocks at the bottom. So it's a good idea to just not dive in head first into waters that you don't know.
Yeah.
Stay with your child, especially for younger kids. You need to be in the water with the child, and especially at arm's length. Even though they have these floaties and these fun, inflatables, you want to stay with the child and you want to be at arm's length. Swim with a buddy, always a good idea. We've been told that many times in camp. Not only is it fun, it's also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So what is going on here? What's going on here? Here's an apartment, and we see air conditioners in some of the units. And then there's one unit almost at the top over to the left. A window is open. Window's open. I don't see an air conditioning unit. So maybe their window is open because they're trying to get fresh air or cool air. So the warning here is you have to be careful, because we don't see a window guard, and it's a hazard for young children to fall out of the window. And we do have, unfortunately, admissions to the ER with children falling out of the window because the windows have no window guards, or the screen itself creates like a false sense of security that, oh, there's a barrier there, so nobody will fall out. So be very careful, especially if you are living in the high levels of the apartments that you're living in. So just be extra careful, be mindful of that. And here, just because we're talking about warm weather safety, some people like to go hiking, or maybe some people like to do gardening. So here is a common plant that a lot of people tend to get bad reactions on. And this is a poison ivy. So just knowing what this looks like and avoiding it, trying not to touch it. If you happen to touch it by accident, then the recommendation is washing your hands very, very well, or the affected areas very, very well with warm soapy water. Very, very well. And then keeping an eye out for, itching, redness, and letting your primary care doctor know that you might have touched something that may look like poison ivy, and perhaps you might need to come in to have your skin checked, and they could recommend an ointment for you. And you can't really see here, but we are trying to demonstrate tick. There it is.
Well, that's the thing, because, you can't see the ticks.
Yes.
You can't see them when you're walking because they're so tiny.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to be mindful when you are going out in the field, especially if you're hiking and you happen to brush up against some bushes or tall plants. You never know if there's going to be ticks there. For people who own pets, always check your pets. Also check your young children, your grandchildren, to see if they have any ticks. And they are very small. Once they attach themselves to the skin, they can get a little bit big. So be on the lookout for ticks on the body. Also, as far as traveling by car, we talked about walking, getting outside, and getting out in the sun. But of course, we travel by cars. It's very important not to leave anybody, especially anybody who cannot get out of the car themselves, alone in the car. There's been way too many incidences where there's an accidental, people are forgetting that their baby or their children or older adult is in the car, and it gets really extremely hot in the car, especially if the car is not running and the air conditioner is not on. If the windows are up, they can suffocate and definitely have the symptoms that we just talked about with the heat illnesses. So the temperature rises 20 degrees after 10 minutes in the sun with all windows up. So please keep that in mind. Always step out of the car with the same people that you stepped into the car.
Right. That's really a good way to put it.
Yeah. So our final message, hydrate with water. If you don't like water, Maria mentioned some people don't like water. So be creative in the type of fluid, non-alcoholic fluid that you might want to try. Some people like the smart water. Some people like to have tea with herbal tea, infused tea. Some people add some fruits or lemon or cucumbers or strawberries or mint in their water just to kind of add some flavor. Some people do drink Gatorade, but that has a lot of sugar. So being mindful of that, especially if you're a diabetic, the Gatorade is made more for athletics, the people who are doing a lot of sports out in the sun, sweating a lot, losing a lot of salts. So be mindful of Gatorade especially if you have diabetes. Avoid alcohol because that can be dehydrating. Caffeine can also be dehydrating. So be mindful of that. Use sunscreen when you're outside. Walk early in the morning or later on in the afternoon, and check your medications to see if they do dehydrate you, if they are diuretics, because then you might need to drink a little bit extra water, but not too much. The reason why you're on diuretics is because you're retaining water. So, finding that balance and talking with your primary care provider is very, very important. All right. So our contact information is there. And Maria, if you can come off the slide screen and let's just give, I know we did the summary, what do you think is a good takeaway as far as sun safety and also water safety? Because you're a water expert, right? You you do a lot of swimming. You've taught swimming lessons. So what are some key points that we want to hammer in so that way people will really have something to take away?
As far as water safety is concerned, really just eyes on your kids. That is the best thing you can do as far as being safe in the water. Eyes on the kids, especially if they're non-swimmers. And even if they are swimmers, just keep your eyes on them. And one of the easiest ways to do that too is to have them wear like really bright neon colored swimsuits, not blue because that will just blend in, but anything that you can see really quickly. That's my kids used to wear like, these neon green, neon, yellow or a mixture of colors, anything that will make them stand out and will make them visible in the water. So that's always a good idea. So yeah, don't just because there's a lifeguard, you shouldn't depend on the lifeguard for the safety of your child. So that would be my number one takeaways. Just keep your eyes on the kid.
Yeah. Well, for me, I would definitely say water. Have it with you at all times. Drink some water before you leave. Take water with you. Drink some water when you get back. Of course, drinking a lot of water, you need to know where the bathrooms are. But that's secondary. And also jumping into pools. Don't dive in head first. Unless you are a competitive swimmer and you're in a controlled situation, you know how deep the water is, do not dive in head first. Because there's some pools, especially if you got invited to a pool party, you don't know how deep the pool is. You don't want to be diving in head first. And as far as being in the beach, there are times during the summer where the tides are very strong and it can pull you down. So be mindful of that. And that's called what? Riptides?
Riptides. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's another. And usually when you go to the beach that has a lifeguard or is manned by lifeguards, there are usually flags that will, show you where the riptides are, if there are riptides. So, you look at the flags. They're different colored flags. You want to know what those mean. There's green, red, yellow. So you want to know what those mean and just if there's a danger of riptides, they will put that out there, so they will know. And one other thing actually is, if possible, learn how to swim. And this is for adults, kids, and everybody. Learn how to swim, even if it's just a basic level. A lot of that is you'll be more comfortable in the water. You'll be a lot more comfortable in the water, and then you'll know what you're capable of. So learn how to swim.
Yes, that's a very good point, because you can't assume that because people are near a body of water that person is a swimmer. You can't assume that, because some people are afraid of water. Some people are, maybe they used to be good swimmers, but, maybe their health conditions have changed and it's been a while. So their endurance may not be as much. So definitely take swimming lessons. It's never too late, And
it's a wonderful exercise. It's a whole body workout. Swimming is a whole body workout. So it's like one of the best exercises that you can do. And you can carry it from youth all the way to like 95. Yeah. Or even older, So that is one of the best exercises that you can have. And
very good point. And also, I think what I want to add also, because it's been coming up more and more in the last few years, is when you're down the beach, especially in the Cape area, there's been shark sightings. So shark sightings. So it sounds kind of funny, but it's becoming more and more popular. So be mindful of that, especially if you see seals in the water in that area. You don't want to be in that water if you see a lot of seals, because it might be sharks in the water. And there are some people who have who live in the area, the Cape, in the islands. They have shark apps. It lets them know if there's any shark activity. So be careful of that as well. All right.
Right. Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
Good
Definitely.
points. Very
Yes.
good points. It's
Yeah.
especially now that, as we said, here in Boston, you're surrounded by water. It's
Mhm.
easy to get to a beach. So, and again, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to go to the beach. But again, just be mindful of what you're doing and who you're with, and you know, um, pay attention to what you're doing, and especially if you have kids, pay
Yeah.
attention to the kids. Just don't get distracted. Don't read that magazine. Don't play with your phone. Don't, watch the kids. Your main job, if you're at the beach, at the pool, is to watch your kids, not.
Yeah. 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 It's very good point. But you know what? I got to tell you, Maria, sometimes it's just easier said than done because,
Oh, it gets very boring for
yeah,
sure.
because, it's just, we're there to relax ourselves, right? So we bring our phones, we bring our food, we bring our magazines or books. So, use your common sense, err in the side of caution, have extra eyes on your kids. If you cannot keep an eye on your kids, have other people that you're with keep
Right.
an eye on your kids. So that's,
Yeah, you can take turns. You can
yes,
take turns keeping an eye on the kids, because
yes,
it's just really critical, because one of the things that we have to remember is it's very, very, drowning is a quiet event. It's not, nobody's yelling, nobody's screaming, and it's very quiet. It can happen in less than 5 seconds. So it's really important. It's an important thing that we do.
yes, definitely. Very good point. Very good point. I think it's a good way to end the program today. So, we hope that you got something from this program. Definitely, we wish you a fun and healthy and safe summer. And if you have any questions about what we covered, just email us. Maria shared the slide that has our contact information. But definitely, just keep it safe. Keep yourself nice and cool and hydrated. Keep an eye on others that you're with, and keep an eye on yourself. All right. So we want to leave it there. And Maria, thank you so much for being on the program, and wish you a happy summer.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
And have a fun summer and safe summer.
All right.
Stay cool.
All right. So I just want to thank the Quincy Health Department for sponsoring the Aging Strong program. And I appreciate all the efforts to help me be able to share pertinent programs that empowers older adults. Take care. Bye-bye.